Patriotic Alliance soared, the DA remained stagnant, and the EFF crashed and burned in the latest round of by-elections. So it was a very interesting round of by-elections this past week, with 3 contests taking place. And the big winners were the Patriotic Alliance and, surprisingly, the ANC, although their win was mostly due to a lack of competition. Still, some very interesting head-to-head battles took place, particularly when it came to the PA versus the DA, as well as the ANC and the EFF. Now, before we get into this, could I please remind you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already? It's completely free to do, and all you have to do is click on the subscribe button below. If you would like to support the channel and enjoy additional benefits such as members-only videos, you can do so by becoming a Power Club member. All you have to do is click on the join button below. Now let's get started. So arguably the most crucial result that took place was Dawid Kruiper, Ward 15. For those of you who might not know, Dawid Kruiper is a municipality on the northern tip of the Northern Cape. And this is a municipality where control has changed hands quite a number of times. You see, if we take a look at the past election data that I have here, you'll see how in 2016, this was a very staunch ANC stronghold, and they did well to remain in the lead in 2019's national election as well. However, in 2021, we saw it shift hands to the DA, who did a very good job of building support here over time. We then saw how, although the DA were the biggest party in the 2024 election, the PA came out of pretty much nowhere to overtake both the DA and the ANC in order to win this ward off of the DA. So if we take a little bit of a closer look at the actual results, and you can see from the chart on my right that the PA were able to amass 1,115 votes, or 37.53%. The DA weren't too far behind with 858 votes, or 28.88%, but what was probably very shocking for the DA is the fact that they came in third to both the PA and the ANC. You see, the ANC actually improved quite well on both their 2021 and 2024 results, getting 939 votes, or 31.61%. And so what does all this mean? Well, if we take a look at the PA's growth, they had only 207 votes here in 2024. And in the 2021 election, which was their first they contested in this ward, they only got 23 votes. And so this is a rampant rise. But while many people will assume that they won votes off of the ANC and DA, this wasn't the case in this ward. They may have won a few votes off the DA, but the DA only lost an odd 50 votes or so. They pretty much held steady from 2024. We also see how the ANC actually improved by getting over 300 votes compared to what they had in the 2024 election. And so if we look at the PA's result, we very quickly see that they benefited firstly from other parties not participating in the by-election, but secondly, from being able to drive up their own voter turnout amongst new voters and those who may have voted in the past but chose not to vote last time around. And we actually see this from voter turnout. See, if I scroll down and I take a look at the voter turnout statistics, you'll see how the population in this ward has grown quite a lot over the last few years. And we see how in 2026's by-election, there was a 63% turnout, or 3,003 votes cast. Now, this is just a little bit lower in terms of percentage than 2016's turnout of 63.8%. But what we see is that the population was quite a bit smaller. Only 1,927 votes were cast in that election. And since then, in 2019, 2021, and 2024, we've seen how voter turnout has really plummeted, especially in 2021, where only 46.8% of voters came out to vote, at least of those who are registered. And so ultimately, this could mean that the PA has done a very good job at registering new voters and getting them to show up compared to in 2024. We do understand that the Northern Cape has proven to be a PA stronghold, especially amongst more rural or semi-rural coloured communities. And we also know that there may have been voters who are previously registered but simply chose not to turn out in 2021 and 2024. And so it really seems as if the PA's growth here did not come at the expense of the DA and the ANC, but rather in spite of the DA and the ANC, where they managed to draw in new voters. The only other election of consequence during this round of by-elections was in Matlosana, Ward 20. So Matlosana is a city in the Northwest province, and we're looking at a traditional ANC stronghold where the ANC have always been runaway winners in this ward. I mean, you can see it in the graph on the right, how the ANC have had pretty much no competition from anyone. And in fact, what's really interesting in this ward is how it's the ANC who normally comes out on top and the EFF in second place. Yet look how poorly the EFF do in comparison. I mean, the DA and the other parties are even worse than the EFF, and they chose not to participate in this by-election. But the surprise package here, yet again, was the Patriotic Alliance. You see, the PA never participated in this ward up until the 2024 national election. And during that election, or rather the provincial election, they only got 19 votes, or 1.3%. And yet in this election, they managed to get 136 votes, or 10.93%. Now, this might not sound like a lot, but it actually is quite a surprise and very impressive for the PA, because they actually managed to overtake the EFF as the second place party here. You see, the EFF in this by-election got 100 votes on the dot, or 8.04%, putting them in third place, whereas the ANC got 1,008 votes, making them runaway winners. And this is a very interesting result for two reasons. Firstly, the PA have managed to tap into a majority black area, which is not their traditional stronghold. And we've also seen how they were able to displace the EFF and usurp them in second place. And this is also quite shocking because the EFF normally has a very strong following in the specific ward. What's also important for us to take note of, which I think actually explains this result, is the immigration issue. We know that illegal immigration has become one of the biggest topics taking hold of South Africa these days, and we've seen it with a lot of the marches that have been taking place. And we know that parties such as the Patriotic Alliance are very big on making illegal immigration a central issue. The EFF, on the other hand, has decided to be very anti the fight against illegal immigration, and in actual fact, they themselves say that South Africa should do away with its borders and that we should just have one Africa. And of course, this is really jeopardizing their campaign, because we know how many people, especially black South Africans who are middle class or perhaps lower income earners, are frustrated by the illegal immigration issue. And so I wouldn't be surprised if this result is testament to that the EFF, even in their strongholds, are actually losing voters because people are getting tired of their stance when it comes to illegal immigration. On the other hand, although the PA is often viewed as a colored-centric party, it seems that many black voters may decide to gravitate towards them and even the likes of Action SA due to their stances on illegal immigration. The only other contest that happened was a traditional ANC ward where the ANC were the runaway winners because it was two local parties that were created which faced them. There was no real opposition for them in that ward. And so ultimately, it's not really one worth analyzing. But if we take a look at the by-elections that we saw here, some very interesting results have come through. First of all, we've seen how this overall trend of the PA tapping into new voters has continued. There also seems to be a real success in the PA's campaign at getting disenfranchised voters who perhaps voted in the past and decided to opt out of the system, convincing them and getting them back into the system to vote for the PA. Meanwhile, it seems that the DA have actually managed to hold pretty strong in their Northern Cape ward. The only problem is that because of the PA's ability to attract these new voters, they weren't able to keep up with them, and that's why they fell behind. The ANC, on the other hand, apparently had a candidate who's very popular within the community. And so she was someone who was actually able to drive out voters, not because they like the ANC, but because they believe in her. At least this is according to some of the prominent elections analysts. And so ultimately, the reality is that the PA are continuing their trend of getting these new voters and growing, but it seems that they may be doing it not at the expense of the DA, but rather by getting other voters who perhaps never voted for the DA in the past. Still, there are some DA voters who did swing to the PA in recent by-elections. Are some black voters actually going to vote for the PA because they like their illegal immigration stance? Are some of those staunch EFF voters finally losing their patience and deciding to withdraw from the party because of that same anti-illegal stance, or rather pro-illegal stance of the EFF? Ultimately, only time will tell. And then I think the final thing is, where will the DA find themselves? Will they be able to hold on to their strong showing in the Northern Cape and, of course, their majority in the Western Cape, knowing that the PA is growing at the same time? You see, the PA might not be taking away many DA votes, but if they keep growing at the pace they are, it will dilute the percentage of the vote that the DA have, even if their voter base holds steady. Ultimately, these are all things that we're going to have to see in time. Thank you very much for tuning into this video. If you enjoyed it, please remember to subscribe to the channel for more content. Until next time, I'm Matthew Cohen, and this is the Power Pod.